In this video, I'm going to help you choose headlamps for the outdoors. Which headlamps should you choose for the outdoors when you're going camping, climbing, hiking, adventuring, spelunking, into the wilderness, or whatever? There are a lot of factors, and I'm going to share them in this video. There are lots of different types of headlamps from many manufacturers, from Black Diamond and Petzl, all the way down to my lowly Woobin headlamp that still works, like no problem. So how do you choose these headlamps? Let's check this out. The very first consideration that you want to look at is what type of batteries your headlamp uses, not how many lumens or anything else. Why is that? Because when it gets ultra cold, do your headlamps support rechargeables? What does that mean? Versus lithiums versus alkaline batteries? I'll tell you right now from experience. If you want to go into the wilderness and you're going into a cold location and you don't have the rechargeable style headlamp, buy the lithium battery. Links in the description. If you buy alkalines, yes, they're great at Costco, super cheap, but when it's like below freezing, your alkalines will go wah, 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 and they will run out of power compared to lithiums, which will power on to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit and Celsius. The next factor to consider are how bright is the headlamp. That is measured in lumens. My Revolt headlamp, this is a 200 lumen headlamp. Headlamps nowadays have 350, I mean they're crazy bright. My Storm, this is a 3 or 350 headlamp. It is crazy bright on the beam. Now what does that mean by beam? Okay, so I'm going to turn this on and you can see this broad swath little weenie LED here. That's pretty good and it gives you a nice cast. I'll show you in a moment. And by the way, I'm going to share the most important factor of headlamps but the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. The other option is the beam. This thing is where you get a lot of power and brightness. So let me show you what that looks like in the room. Shut this off. Shut this off. A little bit of light here. Alrighty, so now you can see, I'm gonna have to shut this off too. One moment. There you go. Now you can see what the beam looks like, and we're gonna be in our tent here. And you can see that the beam flashes around, no problem. And it works very well for me here. A little bit bright, but compare that to the broad LED here. This broad LED casts a wider, non-tight beam, so you won't be able to see grizzlies or anything with this, but it's generally a nicer option to use when you are in the outdoors. Now the beam is super great because it can cast a long ways, and the tighter the beam and the higher the lumens, the more you can see in the outdoors. Now, here's the factor to consider. The brighter the headlamp, the more batteries it sucks up. So that's something to consider too. The brighter you make your headlamp, the more difficult it is to keep those batteries going. The next factor to consider is adjustability. Can you adjust the brightness of the headlamp when it go down and back up? And how will you adjust that headlamp? Because some manufacturers put so much stuff into this single little annoying button that you have to know freaking Morse code. Okay, we'll hold it for 3 seconds and do this, but hold it for 2 seconds, but double tap and shut it off and turn it on. It all sounds great. It all is great for marketing and sales, but believe me, when you're at 12,000 feet or 4,000 meters, you're freezing your booty off, you're in your sleeping bag, you're like, oh wait, what mode? How do I do that again? It's maddening. So just be aware, even though, oh, it's got all these modes, do not be enamored by the market speak because that will make you suffer. You don't want to do that. Believe me, I was like, oh wait, how do you use this thing again? Another thing to consider is waterproofing. There are all different specifications for waterproofing. IPX67, how submerged can it be? How much can it take? Are you spelunking? Or are you just generally climbing, hiking? What's going to happen? Is it rainproof? Is it dunk proof? You need to look at the specifications for the circumstances that you think that you are going to encounter in the wilderness. Waterproofing can be a big thing. The next thing to consider is tilt. Virtually all headlamps have some sort of tilt thing. That way when you walk up to somebody, hi, how's it going? And you're literally shining a light in their freaking face. Don't do that. Rude. Turn it to broad, tilt that thing down, or put it to the side, or whatever you need to do. Make sure that your headlamp has some sort of tiltability. Even my little lowly Woobin headlamp has a tiltability, which is really nice, and it can flip around. Yeah, this is actually pretty slick, an inexpensive headlamp that has rotation. It beats my super expensive revolts and everything else. The next question is locking. What does locking mean? No, you don't put your headlamp in a safe, but instead, if you press and hold 1, 2, 3, 4, this goes into lock mode. I don't know about you, but I've had my headlamp in my bag, no problem. I get to camp and it's on feebly. The button got pressed by some gear or kit and my headlamp is now dead and I'm at camp. Oh, so the ability to lock a headlamp is really nice. Just note with single button style headlamps, it can be a real problem because, was it 2 seconds? Do you double tap it? Boy, it can be a real challenge. The next factor to consider is rechargeability. This has become a thing in the last few years. I love myself, my little Revolt headlamp. I just put my USB cable in there. Most of the time they're micro USBs. I don't know if they've gone to USB-C yet. And then I get my recharging stick here, plug it in, and then hopefully, blink, 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 my headlamp is recharging. So if I'm way out there, it is a big deal. The lock options, now the complex buttons thing is a huge, huge factor. I cannot emphasize that enough. Also because of this rechargeability, this headlamp is not as waterproof or water resistant as my Storm headlamp. That's a thing. Does your headlamp take 2, 3, or 4 batteries? The 4 battery headlamps are much heavier on your head. That is a big factor to consider as well. So if you get really fatigued, you might want to consider just the 3 battery headlamps. They aren't too bad. Also, if you do jogging, you like to jog, that headlamp, if it's really heavy like the 4 battery Storm, it's too heavy for jogging. It's really pretty irritating. The next factor to consider is what type of strap does this headlamp have? Some of the Petzls and Tikas and all those have strings, so they're ultra light, super, super light. Love them. However, this is all great. The string is all great. But what happens when you go climbing? Will your headlamp be compatible with the locks on your helmet? Maybe, maybe not. So the string style is super cool, but maybe it will not fit into these little catches on your climbing head or your climbing helmet. So that's something you need to consider as well, is all the use cases of the conditions that you're going to run into with your headlamp. Also, you can see I've actually crushed the LED things here. The cases, unfortunately, this got against something, and I probably have to buy a new one. Oh, gosh, what a pain. Also, these headlamps, oh, it's locked. See, I gotta unlock this thing. So they also have, let's see if I can turn it down, double click. I can never figure out, gosh dang, see, that's a challenge. This does have an infrared mode, but I can never remember how to get it into the infrared mode. So I haven't used this headlamp in a couple weeks, and oh wait, what's the infrared mode? Double tap, click. Yeah, same. There is an infrared mode here. It's super nice. It's great for camping, but when you can't figure it out, maybe it's not that great. So that is a big, big thing to consider. Now, the most important thing that you've been waiting for this whole video, headlamps, technology, lumens, beam, blah, 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 blah. The most important thing about your headlamp is not all those things. It is when you get home, recharge the batteries and then take the batteries out. Why do I say take the batteries out? Because my batteries died. They poured alkaline goo and lithium goo in there, and they literally trashed this $70 headlamp. Like, it doesn't work anymore. Even when I clean it, that alkaline junk and the lithium junk got into the casing and trashed the headlamp. And no, it doesn't work anymore. So whoop, by the time you're done, you're looking at $100 in the garbage. So the most important thing, when you get home, take out the batteries, put them in the Ziploc with the headlamp, and then just as important, make sure to charge up your headlamp or get fresh batteries when you're going out. Do not use used batteries if it's really important, and bring a spare set of batteries when you're in the outdoors, because when your batteries die, you're toast. And I actually bring a second headlamp, my little cheap Woobin. That way I've got my main, and then if it goes wrong, I've got my backup headlamp, because being in the dark in the wilderness kind of stinks. My name's Aaron Linsdale. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. Please check out links in the description to my books: Antarctic Tears, Lost at Windy Corner, Adventure Expedition 1, How to Keep Your Feet Warm in the Cold, the Jackson Hole Hiking Guide, The Most Crucial Knots to Know, and my 2024 Total Eclipse Guides. By the way, I talk about headlamps and all those critical things in here that not just for expeditions but camping too. You'd be amazed what you can learn in there. And also check out links in the description to my show World Beyond and Antarctic Tears. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy your headlamping. Oh, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Ding, ding, ding.